Joining me right now is Oxbow Advisors Managing Partner Ted Oakley. Ted, kicking things off with you. You're looking at recent weakness in the economy as a result of the Federal Reserve raising interest rates. Are you expecting any specific moves this week, being the last week of the first quarter?
Well, I wouldn't think so from since they've just done something, 2 weeks ago on it. So I wouldn't think that would happen. I think people are somewhat complacent right now, considering that this is the first quarter in a long time you've had the stock and bond markets down in the quarter. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens going in the second quarter.
Let's talk about the macro story for a moment, because the February pending home sales down 4.1%. I'm wondering if you see cracks in the economic growth story as a result of what's going on in the Eurozone and the Ukraine war, as well as rates moving higher. I know you believe the biggest report this week is the Case-Shiller home prices and U.S. housing prices out. That's coming out tomorrow. What are you expecting? Because we are certainly seeing weak spots within the housing market, and I'm wondering if this is the first cracks in terms of the growth story on the macro story for the U.S.
You know, Maria, it's interesting. Just in the last couple of weeks, we've monitored a few cities and noticed that the supply has actually gone up. Very short term, I know, but I think that is indicative of the higher rates and what we're seeing. And I think people thinking that this housing thing never stops probably will get, we'll see what happens here when, with payments going up from about 18 months ago, it's probably gone from $282 on a 30-year to about $465 or so. So it should have some impact.
So what is your expectation of the growth story? A lot of people are predicting a recession. Stephanie Pomboy, a friend of this program, a few weeks ago talked about a profits recession. Here she is. Watch.
I think we will have an economic recession. While consumers are seeing headline inflation, behind the scenes, margins are getting squeezed. And this is why I think the setup is so dangerous for the Fed, because obviously, we've inflated a massive bubble in financial assets at a time when they're taking away liquidity and the earnings picture is already, deteriorating.
What do you think, Ted? Recession this year, and how do you want to allocate capital in the face of all of that?
Well, Maria, I would be surprised if we didn't have at least one quarter negative this year, and that's because I think the Fed is moving so rapidly that what would happen is, and you hear a lot about the inverted yield curve, and it is a true story. It happens that way, but I think the biggest thing will be that in order to opt out and not have inflation, they're probably going to have to decide whether you have a recession or whether you let it run. And I think they will go the route of helping the 40 or 45% of people that don't own stocks. And I think that's why you may see a quarter of recession this year, because it's probably going to slow faster than people think it will in the long run.
Dagen McDowell, jump in.
One thing I'll add is a lot of people expecting that the Federal Reserve was going to try and deflate all of these assets that have been inflated with the $9 trillion balance sheet, not just interest rates at near zero. Thought that we were going into a recession anyway, expecting tightening from the Fed. But you look at what is happening, particularly because of Russia's war on Ukraine, there is a diesel fuel shortage, a crunch going on around the globe. And if the Fed wasn't going to cause a recession, that the diesel problem globally surely will now.
Well, I know, Dagen, what happens with these. If you look at, I know, Dagen, if you look at what's happening out there with trucking companies, I've talked to a number of them. It's a big thing for them. You nailed a good point about what's happening, and I think that's going to be a problem. It is a problem and will be a problem.
All right, we'll leave it there. Ted, great to see you this morning. Thanks very much. Ted Oakley joining us this morning on The Macro Story.